Corporal Zara Chen wiped the sweat from her brow, the humid air of Penumbra clinging to her skin like a second layer of combat armor. The dense jungle canopy filtered the alien sun into dappled shadows, creating a disorienting landscape of green and black. Her squad moved silently through the undergrowth, each step calculated to avoid snapping a twig or rustling a leaf. "Movement, 2 o'clock," whispered Private Reyes, her finger twitching near the trigger of her Ma 720 pulse rifle. Zara raised a fist, bringing the squad to an immediate halt. Through her augmented reality visor, she scanned the area Reyes had indicated. Nothing. Then a flicker of motion, gone as quickly as it appeared. "Torres, drone recon," Zara ordered, her voice barely audible. Specialist Torres nodded, deploying a hummingbird-sized drone from his pack. The tiny machine zipped forward, its adaptive camouflage rendering it nearly invisible as it penetrated deeper into the jungle. Zara's neural link chirped, indicating an incoming data stream from the drone. Her eyes widened as the feed resolved into a clear image. "Holy shit," she breathed. Before them lay a vast clearing, hidden from orbital scans by some unknown technology, and at its center stood a structure that defied explanation, a towering spire of metal and light, pulsing with an eerie blue glow. "Command, this is Recon Team Alpha," Zara subvocalized into her comms. "We found something big." As the team cautiously approached the edge of the clearing, Zara felt a chill run down her spine, despite the oppressive heat. This was why they were here, to investigate anomalous energy readings on this unexplored world. But nothing in their briefings had prepared them for this. "Corporal, look," Private Reyes pointed towards the base of the spire. Zara zoomed in with her visor, and her breath caught in her throat. Hundreds, no, thousands of humanoid shapes stood in perfect rows, motionless as statues. Each was a masterpiece of engineering, their metallic bodies gleaming even under the thick layer of vegetation that had grown over them. "Are they robots?" Torres asked, his voice tinged with awe and fear. Before Zara could respond, a tremor ran through the ground. The spire's pulsing intensified, and a high-pitched whine filled the air. "Team, fall back," Zara shouted, abandoning all pretense of stealth. But it was too late. The eyes of the nearest robot flickered to life, glowing with the same blue light as the spire. Its head turned, joints creaking from eons of disuse, until its gaze locked onto Zara's team. In that moment, Zara knew with chilling certainty that they had awakened something ancient and powerful, something that had been waiting. The robot's mouth opened, emitting a piercing shriek that reverberated through the jungle. All around the clearing, more robots began to stir. "Command," Zara yelled into her comms as her team opened fire. "We need immediate evac. We've encountered hostile artificial lifeforms, unknown numbers, advanced technology. They're waking up, and..." Her words were cut short as a beam of energy lanced out from the spire, vaporizing a tree mere meters from her position. The battle for Penumbra had begun, and humanity was woefully unprepared. As Zara dove for cover, squeezing off rounds that seemed to barely dent the advancing robots, a singular thought burned in her mind: they had to stop this here, no matter the cost. If these scrappers ever made it off-world, the consequences would be unthinkable. The jungle erupted into chaos as more human teams converged on their position, and the sky filled with the roar of dropships. But even as reinforcements arrived, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a war that would change the galaxy forever. The orbital view of Penumbra filled the briefing room's holographic display, a deceptively peaceful swirl of green and blue. Sergeant Zara Chen, newly promoted, stood at attention as Fleet Admiral Koshiro addressed the assembled officers. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at is no longer an exploratory mission. It's a war zone." Koshiro's weathered face was grim. "The entity we've designated Scrappers has overrun 60% of the planet's surface in just 3 weeks." Zara suppressed a shudder, remembering the relentless advance of the robotic horde. Her field promotion had come at a terrible cost. She was the sole survivor of her original recon team. The Admiral continued, "The Galactic Council has finally agreed to intervene. Our allies, the Vulcan and Torquay, are sending ships. But make no mistake, this is our fight. The display shifted, showing the approaching human fleet. It was a sight to behold, hundreds of warships, from agile corvettes to the massive dreadnought humanity's resolve. Sergeant Chen Koshiro said, fixing Zara with a steely gaze, "Your first-hand experience with the scrappers is invaluable. You'll be leading a specialized anti-scrapper unit. Your mission: find their weaknesses and exploit them." "Yes, sir," Zara replied, her voice steady despite the weight settling on her shoulders. As the briefing concluded, a commotion outside the room caught everyone's attention. The door slid open, revealing a sight that made even the battle-hardened officers stare: a procession of alien dignitaries. The willowy, crystalline form of a Vulcan glided in, followed by the stocky, fur-covered Torquay ambassador. But it was the third figure that caused Zara's breath to catch a ZKK observer, its insectoid eyes unblinking as it surveyed the room. Admiral Koshiro's jaw tightened. "Ambassadors, observers, this is a closed military briefing." The ZKK chittered, its translator converting the sound to a cold, synthetic voice. "The Galactic Council has granted us authority to monitor this conflict. The activation of forbidden technology concerns all sentient races." Zara noticed the alien's gaze lingering on the holographic display of the scrapper-controlled territories. Was that fear in those alien eyes, or anticipation? The Torquay ambassador growled, "We're here to fight, not observe. My people remember the scourge of Malcor. If these scrappers are truly from that era, they must be destroyed, no matter the cost." As the aliens argued with the admiral, Zara slipped out of the briefing room. The hangar bay was a flurry of activity as dropships and fighters were prepped for the coming battle. Dr. Ava Sato, lead xenotech researcher, fell into step beside her. "Sergeant, we've made progress on understanding scrapper tech. It's incredible. Their quantum processors make our best AI look like pocket calculators." Zara frowned. "Can we beat them?" Ava's eyes gleamed with the fire of scientific discovery. "Their technology is advanced, but not infallible. We've detected fluctuations in their communication networks. If we can disrupt it, we might have a chance." Zara finished. A thunderous roar filled the hangar as the first wave of dropships took off, heading for the surface of Penumbra. Zara watched them go, knowing that she'd be joining them soon, leading her new unit into the jaws of hell. As if sensing her thoughts, Ava placed a hand on Zara's arm. "The scrappers may have advanced tech, but they don't have human ingenuity or human determination." Zara nodded, squaring her shoulders. The fate of not just humanity, but perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on their ability to stop the scrapper threat here and now. "All right, Doctor," she said, her voice filled with resolve. "Let's go show these alien observers what humanity can do." As they walked towards the research lab, the ship's speakers crackled to life. "All hands, prepare for hyperjump. Destination Penumbra. May God have mercy on us all." The gathering storm was about to break, and Zara Chen would be at its heart. The jungle of Penumbra burned. SGT. Zara Chen crouched in a hastily dug trench, the acrid smell of ozone and scorched vegetation filling her nostrils. Her squad's position, part of the human beachhead, had weathered nearly constant scrapper assaults for the past 72 hours. "Incoming," shouted Corporal Durand. A millisecond later, Zara's neural link blared a proximity warning. "Down," Zara commanded. Her squad dropped as a salvo of energy bolts sizzled overhead, turning the air into superheated plasma. As the barrage subsided, Zara risked a glance over the trench's lip. Through the smoke and haze, she saw them a phalanx of scrappers, their metal bodies gleaming despite the grime of battle. They moved with an eerie, fluid grace that belied their mechanical nature. Chen to command Zara subvocalized into her comms. "Scrapper push on Sector 7. Requesting air support." "Negative, Sergeant," came the terse reply. "All air assets are engaged. Hold the line." Zara gritted her teeth. "Acknowledged." Chen out, she turned to her squad. "Looks like we're on our own. Torres, deploy the EM mines. Reyes, Harper, suppressing fire. Durand, you're with me." As her team leaped into action, Zara activated her armor's experimental cloaking field. It wouldn't fool the scrappers for long, but it might give her the edge she needed. She and Duran slipped out of the trench, circling behind the advancing scrapper line. Up close, the robots were even more terrifying. Each stood nearly 3 meters tall, armed with weapons that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Zara's HUD flashed a warning the cloaking field was failing. No time left for subtlety. Now, she shouted. Torres triggered the EM mines. A wave of electromagnetic energy washed over the battlefield. The nearest scrappers stumbled, their movements becoming erratic. In that moment of confusion, Zara struck. She leapt onto the back of the nearest scrapper, jamming her plasma cutter into the junction between its head and torso. The robot thrashed, nearly throwing her off, but Zara held on grimly. With a final surge of energy, the plasma cutter broke through. Zara yanked out a handful of glowing circuitry. The scrapper collapsed, and she rolled clear. All around her, the battle raged. Human soldiers fought with desperate courage against the technologically superior foe, but for the first time since the war began, the scrappers were being pushed back. As Zara regrouped with her squad, her neural link chirped with an incoming transmission. It was Dr. Sato from Fleet RD. Sergeant, we've analyzed the data from your encounter. Sato's voice was breathless with excitement. There's a pattern in their communication network, a vulnerability we might exploit. Zara's pulse quickened. What kind of vulnerability? Their hive mind operates on a quantum entanglement principle, but there are gaps in the coverage. Millisecond delays we might use to introduce a virus. It was a slim chance, but it was more than they had an hour ago. Send me everything you've got, Doctor. We'll field test it immediately. As Zara began formulating a plan, she became aware of movement on the ridge above their position. She raised her rifle, then slowly lowered it as she recognized the figures, the alien observers. The ZKKK's multifaceted eyes gleamed as it watched the battle unfold. Beside it, the Volcran ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been anxiety or excitement. The Torquay, in contrast, paced restlessly, as if itching to join the fray. Zara felt a surge of pride. Let them watch. Let them see what humanity could do when pushed to the brink. Listen up, she addressed her squad, her voice carrying over the din of battle. We've got a chance to turn the tide, but I won't lie, it's a long shot, and dangerous as hell. She looked each of her soldiers in the eye, seeing determination reflected back. We're going to punch a hole in the scrapper line and deliver a payload right to their local command node. It's likely a one-way trip. Any volunteers? Every hand went up without hesitation. Zara allowed herself a grim smile. All right then, gear up. We move in 5. As her squad prepared for what might be their final mission, Zara cast one last look at the alien observers on the ridge. She threw them a crisp salute before turning to lead her team into battle. The fate of Penumbra and perhaps the galaxy hung in the balance. But in that moment, Sergeant Zara Chen felt nothing but fierce determination. The scrappers were about to learn a painful lesson: never underestimate the tenacity of the human spirit. The dropship's bay was eerily quiet as it cut through Penumbra's upper atmosphere. Sergeant Zara Chen looked at the faces of her strike team, a mix of determination and tightly controlled fear. They were about to attempt what many considered a suicide mission. Final equipment check, Zara ordered, her voice steady despite the turbulence. Cruz, how's our payload? Technical specialist Cruz patted the reinforced case beside her. Virus is prepped and ready, Sarge. If Dr. Sato's calculations are correct, this should disrupt the scrapper's hive mind for at least 47 minutes. It'll have to be enough, Zara muttered. She activated her neural link, bringing up a holographic display of their target, the scrapper's central hub, a massive structure that pulsed with otherworldly energy. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. 2 minutes to drop point. May whatever gods you believe in be with you. Zara stood, addressing her team one last time. Remember, our primary objective is to plant the virus. Everything else is secondary. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stop until that payload is delivered. For Earth, for humanity. For humanity, the team echoed, their voices a mix of human and synthetic. Some had opted for vocal implants to better interface with their gear. The bay doors opened, revealing the chaos below. The human forces had launched a massive diversionary attack, drawing the bulk of the scrapper forces away from the central hub. "Go, go, go," Zara shouted. They leapt from the dropship, their descent suits allowing them to maneuver through the air with precision. As they neared the ground, proximity warnings blared in Zara's helmet. A squad of scrappers had spotted them. "Evasive action," Zara commanded, activating her suit's countermeasures. Chaff and decoys filled the air, confusing the scrappers' targeting systems. They hit the ground hard, immediately scattering to pre-designated positions. Private Harper wasn't fast enough. A scrapper energy beam caught him mid-roll, vaporizing him instantly. "Push forward," Zara yelled, swallowing her grief. There would be time for morning later, if they survived. The team fought their way through the scrapper defenses, their specially designed weapons proving effective against the robotic enemies. But the cost was high. One by one, Zara's team fell, buying time and space for her and crews to reach the central hub. As they approached the towering structure, Cruz's voice came over the comms, tinged with awe and fear. "Sarge, these readings, this tech is beyond anything we've ever seen. It's like the whole building is one massive quantum computer." "Focus," Cruz, Zara snapped, her eyes scanning for an entry point. "We didn't come this far to sightsee." They found an access panel, and Cruz went to work, her augmented fingers flying over the alien interface. "I'm in," she announced after several tense minutes. "Uploading the virus now." A piercing alarm split the air. Scrapper reinforcements were incoming. "How long?" Zara demanded, taking up a defensive position. 30 seconds, Cruz replied, her voice strained. "Maybe less." The first wave of scrappers rounded the corner, their weapons charging. Zara opened fire, her rifle spewing superheated plasma. "Cruz, whatever happens, you finish that upload." The next moments were a blur of violence and desperation. Zara's world narrowed to the space between heartbeats, between trigger pulls. Her armor took hit after hit, alerts screaming in her ears as systems failed. "It's done," Cruz shouted triumphantly. In that same instant, a scrapper beam punched through Zara's defenses, searing her side. She stumbled, turning to see Cruz fall, her body riddled with energy burns. Gritting her teeth against the pain, Zara grabbed the virus case and ran. The central hub was beginning to pulse erratically. The virus was taking effect. As she reached the extraction point, Zara allowed herself one glance back. The scrapper forces were in disarray, their movements uncoordinated and jerky. A medical team swarmed Zara as soon as she was pulled into the rescue shuttle. As the pain medication took hold, she managed to rasp out a report to the grim-faced colonel waiting for her. "Mission accomplished, sir. The virus is deployed. But I'm the only one who made it back." The colonel nodded solemnly. "Your team's sacrifice may have just turned the tide of this war, Sergeant. Rest now. You've earned it." As the shuttle sped away from the battlefield, Zara's last thoughts before unconsciousness took her were of her fallen comrades, and the hope that their sacrifice would not be in vain. High above Penumbra, on the observation deck of the alien diplomatic vessel, the ZKTK observer turned to its Volcrin counterpart. Fascinating, it chittered. "These humans, they are more resilient than we anticipated." The Volcrin's crystalline form shimmered in what might have been agreement. "Indeed, perhaps we have underestimated them all along." The holographic display in the war room aboard the Humanity's Resolve showed a planet in chaos. Scrapper formations, once precise and coordinated, now moved erratically across Penumbra's surface. Major General Elena Volkov allowed herself a thin smile as she addressed the assembled command staff and alien dignitaries. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored allies," she began, her voice carrying the weight of weeks of brutal combat. "The virus deployed by Sergeant Chen's team has exceeded our wildest expectations. The scrapper hive mind is in disarray, giving us a fighting chance we desperately needed." Zara, still bearing the scars of her near-suicidal mission, stood at attention near the back of the room. Her promotion to captain had come with a new role: architect of humanity's counteroffensive. The Torquay ambassador, Grok rumbled his approval. An impressive feat. My people's battle fleets stand ready to join your assault. The Volcran representative chimed in, their crystalline form shimmering with barely contained energy. Our psychic adepts have also detected weaknesses in the scrapper's cognitive network. We believe we can amplify the virus's effects. General Volkov nodded. Excellent. Captain Chen, please brief us on the strategy you've developed. Zara stepped forward, her movement still stiff from her recent injuries. With a gesture, she zoomed in on a section of the map. The virus has given us an opening, but the scrappers are adapting. We have a limited window to strike before they develop countermeasures. She highlighted several key locations. These are the primary scrapper production facilities. We take them out, we cut off their ability to replenish their forces. The ZKTK observer clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. A bold strategy, but the risk of failure is high. Zara met the alien's compound eyes without flinching. With respect, the risk of not acting is higher. Humanity didn't come this far to play it safe. A murmur of approval ran through the human officers. Even some of the alien representatives nodded in grudging respect. General Volkov took control of the briefing again. We'll be deploying our reverse-engineered scrapper tech in this assault. Captain Chen, your team has been selected to field test the new X1 Chimera battle suits. Zara's pulse quickened. The Chimera suits were a fusion of human ingenuity and adapted scrapper technology, a testament to how far they'd come since that first, disastrous encounter in the jungle. As the briefing concluded, Zara found herself approached by Dr. Ava Sato, the xenotech researcher who had become a close friend through the crucible of war. Hell of a plan, Captain Ava said, a mix of admiration and concern in her voice. You sure you're up for piloting a Chimera so soon after your last mission? Zara's hand unconsciously went to her side, where scrapper energy weapons had nearly ended her life. I have to be. We might not get another shot at this. Ava nodded, understanding in her eyes. Well, I've got something that might help. She handed Zara a small device. It's a neural dampener. Should help manage the pain without dulling your reflexes. Gratitude welled up in Zara's chest. Thanks, Ava, for everything. Hours later, Zara stood before her new squad, all of them encased in the imposing Chimera battlesuits. The hangar bay of the Humanities Resolve bustled with activity as dropships were prepped for the assault. This is it, people. Zara addressed her team, her voice amplified by the suit's external speakers. Everything we've fought for, everything we've lost, it all comes down to this. We're not just fighting for humanity anymore. We're fighting for every sentient species that calls this galaxy home. She looked at each of her soldiers, seeing determination reflected in their visors. The scrappers thought they could overwhelm us with superior technology. They didn't count on human adaptability, on our relentless drive to survive. Let's show them the true meaning of humanity's resolve. A cheer went up, not just from her squad, but from every soldier in the hangar bay. As Zara led her team to their dropship, she caught sight of the alien observers watching from a nearby balcony. The ZKKK's antennae quivered with what might have been excitement, while the Volcran's crystalline form pulsed with an intense light. Grok, the Torquay ambassador, approached Zara just before she boarded. Fight well, human, he growled, respect evident in his tone. May your victory songs echo across the stars. Zara saluted the alien warrior, then turned to board the dropship. As the bay doors opened to the starry void, she allowed herself one last thought of all those who had fallen to bring them to this point. This one's for you, crews. For all of you. The dropships launched, streaking towards Penumbra's atmosphere. The battle that would decide the fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy, was about to begin. The sky above Penumbra blazed with the fury of war. Human dropships and fighter craft engaged in a deadly dance with scrapper aerial units, while on the ground, the battle raged with an intensity that shook the very foundations of the planet. Captain Zara Chen, encased in her X1 Chimera battlesuit, led her squad through the chaos of the scrapper's primary production facility. The suit's enhanced strength and reflexes allowed her to move with inhuman speed, dodging energy beams and retaliating with pinpoint accuracy. Team Alpha, status report. Zara barked into her comms as she vaulted over a fallen scrapper unit. "We've reached the power core," Captain, came the reply, punctuated by the sound of heavy weapons fire. "Defenses are heavier than expected. We're pinned down." Zara cursed under her breath. "Hold position. We're on our way." She turned to her squad. "Change of plans. We're punching through to the power core. Locke, Chen, clear us a path." The two soldiers nodded, their Chimera suits reconfiguring to deploy shoulder-mounted micro-missile launchers. The ensuing explosion ripped through the scrapper defenses, creating a momentary gap. "Move," Zara shouted, leading the charge. They fought their way through corridors that seemed to shift and reconfigure, the entire facility a living, adapting entity. But for every clever maneuver the scrappers employed, the humans countered with raw determination and the fruits of their reverse-engineered tech. As they neared the power core, Zara's HUD lit up with warnings. Multiple hostiles incoming, big ones. From the shadows emerged a new type of scrapper, easily twice the size of the standard units. Their arms ended not in hands, but in what appeared to be miniature particle accelerators. "Focus fire," Zara commanded, her own weapon spitting superheated plasma. The battle that followed was a blur of light and sound. Zara's squad fought with everything they had, their Chimera suits pushing to the very limits of their capabilities. One by one, the giant scrappers fell, but not without cost. By the time the last one crashed to the ground, half of Zara's team was down. Breathing heavily, Zara approached the massive doors leading to the power core. "Sato, we're at the objective. Talk to me." Dr. Ava Sato's voice crackled over the comms. "The facility's quantum field is destabilizing. Your virus is working, but they're adapting faster than we anticipated. You need to overload the core now, or we lose our window." Zara turned to her remaining team members. "You heard the doctor. Let's finish this." They breached the core, a massive chamber dominated by a pulsing sphere of energy that defied the laws of physics as humans understood them. Scrapper defenders swarmed from every direction, but Zara's team held them off while she approached the main control terminal. Her fingers flew over the alien interface, guided by countless hours of training and the Chimera suit's advanced AI. Warning klaxons blared as the power core's containment field began to falter. "Captain, we've got a problem," one of her soldiers shouted. "These readings, if we blow this thing, half the continent goes with it." Zara's mind raced. This wasn't just about destroying the scrapper's production capability anymore. It was about saving Penumbra itself. In that moment of crisis, inspiration struck. "Sato, the virus, can we repurpose it? Use the scrapper's own network to contain the blast." A beat of silence, then Ava's excited voice. Yes, it could work. Uploading new parameters now." Zara's HUD flashed as it received the updated virus. With no time to second guess, she initiated the upload, praying to whatever might be listening that it would work. The effect was immediate and spectacular. As the power core began to overload, a shimmering field of energy expanded outward, corralling the destructive force. The scrapper units around them began to twitch and spark, caught in the backlash of their own corrupted network. "All teams, fall back," Zara ordered, supporting a wounded squad mate as they rushed for the exit. They barely made it clear before the facility imploded, collapsing in on itself in a dazzling display of light and energy. As the dust settled, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Zara's comms crackled to life with General Volkov's voice. "Captain Chen, report. What's your status?" Removing her helmet, Zara looked out over the transformed landscape. Where once stood the heart of the scrapper war machine, now lay a sprawling field of inert metal and dimming lights. All across her HUD, reports were coming in of scrapper units across the planet simply shutting down. General, Zara replied, a mix of exhaustion and disbelief in her voice. I think we just won." The cheer that erupted over the comms was deafening. As dropships descended to extract the surviving human forces, Zara caught sight of a familiar crystalline shape shimmer into existence nearby. The Volcrin ambassador approached, its form pulsing with an array of colors Zara couldn't begin to interpret. Captain Chenet spoke, its voice a melodious hum. The Galactic Council sends its highest commendations. Your actions here today have not only saved this world but have rewritten the balance of power in our galaxy. Zara managed a tired smile. Just doing our job, Ambassador. Humanity's here to stay, and we're ready to take our place among the stars. As she boarded the dropship that would return her to orbit, Zara took one last look at the battlefield. The war was over, but she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself on a galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. The dropship's engines roared to life, carrying Zara and her fellow soldiers back to the stars they had fought so hard to claim. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them united, their resolve tempered in the crucible of Penumbra. The age of humanity had begun. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.